Dr. Frank Contessessa is with us. Doctor, is the tridemic, as I'm going to call it, and this surge in strep A, is it possibly because kids lack immunity?
Well, good morning, Stuart. I think that's a possibility. I think as we go forward, we're going to start to see these unintended consequences of having kids in masks and in isolation for the last almost 3 years. It's impossible to quantify it, but I think we're going to start to see more and more of these things. As David's report, which was a very good report, by the way, gave a lot of good information. Now we're seeing these invasive group A strep infections, which is really concerning. We don't usually see very many of these things. They're fairly uncommon and rare, and we're seeing more now. Is it a coincidence? I'm not so sure. I guess time will tell.
The White House is sending out more free COVID tests. I have to ask you, Doctor, do people still do a lot of testing?
People are doing testing. I'm not sure that it's very effective or useful at this point, because a lot of people test early on. So if they start to get a fever and they don't feel well, they start testing themselves on day 1 and day 2. And most of these home tests are not terribly accurate at that stage. I tell people, test again on day 3, 4, and 5 if you think you might have COVID, because those first couple of days, most of those tests are going to be negative, and then they erroneously think that they're not infected. So they say, nope, I tested myself. I was COVID negative on day 2. And that's not really effective. So I'm not sure it's going to make that much of a difference at this point. If you're sick, stay home and don't go out and try to spread it to other people. If you're sick, it could be the flu, it could be COVID, and obviously we're seeing RSV too. Hopefully that's peaked, and we're hoping that the RSV starts to taper off.